So the first thing we need to do here in instructions is save the copy of your spreadsheet. And we've already done that. So this is just a reminder for us. Then we want to create the online questionnaire that will be sent to responders. And again, this is a Google form. Now, we've made a template form for you. You're welcome to make your own. But you can click this link here. So let's click the link, and it will open a new tab that contains a Google form. Anybody who's familiar with SurveyMonkey or other online survey tools may recognize the basic format here. So we have pages of the survey. We have a title. In this case, it says, "Do not edit. Please make a copy in your Google Drive." Oh, let's do that. That sounds like a good reminder. So we're going to make a copy. And again, save that into our Google Drive. All right. Let's make sure that's in the right place. Go back to our drive. All right. So here we have an image. We could put an image or two. Here in this first page, they're going to see respond to disaster X as a volunteer, sort of a basic description of the emergency, the needs, the risks, perhaps the work environment, expectations of a responder, and et cetera. Now, you're free to change this as much as you wish, but you should know a couple of things. There's a button here that says View Live Form. You click this, you see the actual form that a person would see when they are asked to fill out the survey. So let's click. So this is sort of the user interface here. So this shows exactly what we saw before. The first question is asking if they're already registered as an emergency volunteer in our system. And the answers are yes, no, or I'm not sure. But let's go back to the editing version. This is the version you can actually change. There's a code of conduct that we've included in the second page, and so by clicking next, and they agree to follow this code of conduct. Again, you can replace that with your own. Then we get into basic volunteer information, so first name, last name, volunteer type, and this looks like we've entered Medical Reserve Corps unit, County Animal Response Team, sort of behavioral health volunteers. You could have this and add other options as you wish. Specific units, so these are names of particular Medical Reserve Corps units. And again, you can design this as you wish. As we continue, we have email address, a confirming email, cell phone number, I think very useful. Cell carrier can also be very useful if we want to send texts to the person. Age, we decided not to collect actual birth date, so because it's a sort of a sensitive information, so we decided to collect over 18 or under 18. You can decide to do whatever your organization wishes. Gender is here. Address, again, I recommend at least collect zip code, and at most collect street address, city, state, and zip code. That's for the mapping later on. Again, if you're uncomfortable asking volunteers to put in their address, you can have them put in just their zip code. Emergency contact, any special needs they may have related to the deployment. The next page of the survey, we ask them their current medical license or certifications, and we ask them to pick the one that's most relevant to this emergency. And we have a list here that they choose from, and you can edit that list as you wish. Then we have a series of questions that are specific skills, and you can delete these questions or add other ones. We have load lifting, call center experience, have you had a flu vaccine, do you have experience with crowd management, and have you been trained in point of dispensing leadership? And then do you speak any languages other than English? If the person selected a medical license, we ask them their specialty. So if they're a nurse, are they an ICU nurse, an oncology nurse, are they an ER nurse? You know, that really helps to determine who you assign to do what. And then we ask about deployment availability. And so we ask, how many days are you willing to deploy, inclusive of transportation time? And you can add numbers to this list. And then we ask the first date they're available to leave and the date they have to be back by. And so this range of dates could be larger than perhaps the number of days they're willing to deploy. If I'm only available for 5 days, but I'm over the whole course of a month, I could be available. That records that information well. And then another question, perhaps, would you prefer to drive your personal vehicle as opposed to riding on a bus? And so the user is going to go through these questions in the survey, and the nice thing about Google is that the results that the person inputs are sent right into one of the spreadsheets. So let's say that we need to connect this form to our spreadsheet here, okay? So the way we do that, right now we have 0 responses, and it is accepting responses. I can view a summary of the responses. It opens a tab which does a sort of graphical representation of every single question. So you get a little pie chart with percentages of people who answered every single question. But we don't need to see that right now. Other things to do here is choose the response destination. So this is important. This is where we're going to connect this form to this spreadsheet, and you'll see that a new sheet is going to appear in here with our answers. So choose response destination. We could put it in a new spreadsheet. We do not want to do that. We want to put a new sheet in an existing spreadsheet, and then we're going to click choose. And in choose, we're going to put it in the example disaster responder management tool. I don't know why there are 2 here. Oh, one is the view only and one is the edit. So let's see if this is correct. Yes, so what happened is we just got a new tab here that says form responses 15. That just is because I've done this many times before, 15 times. And we have now all of the questions from the survey and all of the responses, which are 0 responses. Now what I'd like to do is, because we're demonstrating this, is take in from my own computer these fake responses and put them in here so we can play with them. So there we go. We've got about 100 people now that have filled out the survey with names like Hanna-Barbera and, Bumblebee and, Jim Bob. So lots of fake data here.
Hey, Neil?
Yeah.
We have a question here. So as the former volunteer coordinator, and Katie Wasser is always doing staff call downs, we're thinking about, you do an initial call down with one survey, and then someone comes in and says, we need to ask extra questions, or we don't have enough people yet, and we need to send it out again. How does that affect this and, your transport or, your moving of the data over?
Right. So the question is about when you create one survey or questionnaire, and then in the midst of collecting responses, you realize you have to change the survey. And the answer is that you can go into here and change the survey midway. You can add extra answers. You can add extra questions. If you add extra answers, they become available, and they will appear in the answers here. If you add extra questions, the extra questions will also appear at the very far right side of the spreadsheet. So they may not appear in the order here that you thought it would, but they will appear at the very end. And of course, they will only show the answers for people that have answered them. So that may be pretty far down the list, depending on when you changed your survey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. That's really good to know, because we can see, who got the second version of the survey by looking at that new column. And, if we need to go back to other volunteers and find out their answer to a different question, we can do that by seeing that, they didn't get it originally. Thanks.
Great. So you may have noticed I did a little bit of activity here. Please don't worry about that. Essentially, there was a sheet in here called form responses that had data in here, but I wanted to show the process of having a new questionnaire be dumped into the spreadsheet and then having the spreadsheet. So don't worry about the fact that I deleted a tab in here. We'll get to that in a moment. All right. So now we have our raw data. This is this white sheet. We're really not going to do much with this sheet. Just know that it's here, and as users complete the questionnaire, their answers will appear in this sheet in real time. So you may see as people fill out the answers, boom, 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 boom. Names, people will, the data will start appearing.